when a social media video showed five young friends excitedly getting into a small plane for a flight from Arizona to Las Vegas. No one could predict what would happen in the next few minutes. As soon as the plane took off, the control tower noticed something alarming. They called the pilot, but their warnings were ignored, leading to disastrous consequences. Mariah Coogan grew up in Sonoma County, California, where her outdoor lifestyle fostered her love for animals, especially horses. She became a talented equestrian and was on the verge of achieving great success until a bad fall made her reconsider the sport. She decided to take a break and left high school early to fully pursue a modeling career. This proved to be successful. More and more people followed her on social media. She was an inspiration to many with her enthusiastic and energetic lifestyle. On April 9, 2018, 23-year-old Mariah had just attended the Phoenix Light Festival in Arizona and planned to return to Las Vegas that evening for work. She agreed to fly to Las Vegas with a group of friends in a small plane. The 28-year-old James Pedroza, a student pilot, offered to fly them on the short trip under the supervision of certified flight instructor 32-year-old Eric Valente. Eric began flying when he was just 16 years old and became a private pilot before graduating from high school. He was a highly experienced pilot and worked part-time as an instructor at All In Aviation, a Cirrus flight school in Las Vegas. That evening, he landed at Scottsdale Airport in Arizona at 8:18 p.m. to pick up Mariah and her friends, after a flight of less than 2 hours from North Las Vegas Airport. With over 5,200 flight hours, including 500 in the last 6 months, Eric was more than qualified. He had also recently gained experience flying business jets worldwide. If anyone could get you home safely, it was Eric. Or could he? Besides Mariah, Eric, and James also brought his 22-year-old girlfriend, Helena Lagos, on board. Additionally, 28-year-old Anand Anil Patel and 23-year-old Iris Carolina Rodriguez Garcia boarded. In total, 6 people were on board. The plane was co-owned by James, who had bought shares in it the previous summer. It was a Piper PA-24 Comanche aircraft, originally built in 1970. Early reports suggested that the plane had 4 seats, but this particular model had clearly undergone some modifications over the years. An extra row of seats allowed 6 people to sit in the cabin. However, the question remains whether the engine had been upgraded to provide the additional power needed to carry the extra weight. Just 10 minutes after landing, Eric was ready to pick up the group and take off again back to where he had come from. The outboard trip had been uneventful, and the quick turnaround meant he would be back in Las Vegas before 10 p.m. The airfield was shrouded in darkness that evening as the friends made their way to the plane. Inside, the instruments on the dashboard were illuminated. Through the windows, the city lights were visible. Headlights from cars driving along the nearby road glided back and forth. When the group boarded the plane that evening on April 9, 2018 at 8:28 p.m., Mariah took out her mobile phone. She snapped a photo over the wing before stepping inside. Her friends were already seated, ready to depart. Mariah uploaded the photo with the caption, "Off to Vegas." She then sent a selfie video to a friend. Once in the cabin, she made a short video of the excited passengers and posted it on her social media. Everyone was laughing and clearly enjoying the moment. In hindsight, it was a chilling video. With the hashtag #VegasLet'sGo, James checking the dashboard, and Anand excitedly pointing at the camera, they were on the verge of changing their lives forever. James climbed into the front seat of the cockpit, with Eric sitting next to him in the right seat. James was a relatively inexperienced pilot. Just the previous fall, he had excitedly posted on social media about his first takeoff and landing. Despite this achievement, he may not have been ready to take a plane full of friends on a nighttime flight of an hour and a half. Additionally, he had attended the Phoenix Light Festival the day before. Shortly after boarding, the plane taxied to runway 3. They received clearance for takeoff and began accelerating down the runway. Although no one is certain who was in control during takeoff, the control tower noticed something alarming. Around 8:30 p.m., it was very dark. The plane's lights flashed as usual, but as the aircraft accelerated and lifted off the asphalt, the lights at the wingtips bobbed up and down. This made it appear as though the plane's wings were wobbling. As the plane passed by the tower, The controller noticed that the wings now seemed stable, but there was something else that was troubling: the sound of the plane. It sounded as if the plane didn't have enough power. Immediately, the controller called the pilot and asked if they were experiencing any issues. This lack of power was also noticed by a witness on the ground. The plane seemed to be struggling, but when asked about it, Eric responded calmly and simply said, "We're good. We're just in training mode." With the plane failing to reach the necessary altitude and the engine under strain, whoever was at the controls tried to turn the aircraft to the left. They may have been attempting to return to the runway, realizing something was terribly wrong, or they may have lost control. At 8:48 p.m. that evening, the plane suddenly crashed with its wings almost vertical. At just 200 feet above the ground, there was nothing anyone in the cockpit could do. Only 70 seconds into the flight, those in the tower and witnesses on the ground saw the horrifying moment when the plane nosedived. It struck the TPC Scottsdale Champions Golf Course, less than a quarter mile from the runway, and was immediately engulfed in a fireball. No one on the ground was injured, but all 6 passengers on board lost their lives. This tragedy deeply shocked the families and friends of the passengers. The videos and photos taken just before the crash showed the group having the time of their lives. Their short flight ended in unimaginable sorrow. While the investigation was ongoing, some began to speculate about the possible causes of the crash. Brent Bowen, professor and dean of the College of Aviation at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University in Prescott, commented on the tragedy. He believed the plane crashed due to overloading. Incredibly, something well known in the aviation world is that small planes typically have 2 or more seats that they can safely accommodate. Therefore, a plane with 6 seats should actually only carry 4 passengers to compensate for the extra weight of luggage and fuel. Brent Bowen believed that 6 adult passengers, along with fuel and baggage, disrupted the plane's center of gravity. A miscalculation with temperature and atmospheric conditions could have easily led to this disaster. When investigators arrived at the scene, the wreckage of the plane was spread over an area 180 feet long and about 40 feet wide. It was a devastating sight. Mariah had been thrown from her seat and lost her life due to blunt force trauma. The others succumbed to thermal injuries and multiple blunt force traumas. The fuselage was severely damaged by both the fire and the impact, rendering it barely recognizable. The right wing was still partially attached, but had struck a tree during the crash. The left wing had completely detached and lay in several pieces on the ground. Some seats inside the plane had come loose from their rails, while others were completely consumed by the fire. Autopsies on both Eric, the qualified pilot, and James, the student pilot, revealed a chilling discovery. Traces of both cocaine and ecstasy were found in James' blood and urine. Although Eric was clean, his student pilot may have been under the influence while at the controls. The list of impairments associated with ecstasy use is alarming for someone in control of a plane full of friends. Fatigue, reduced fine motor skills, delayed reactions, impulsivity, difficulty maintaining attention, and trouble performing complex tasks. The effects of drug use while flying are devastating. But there was more to the story. After further investigation, it was concluded that the levels of drugs in James' system were minimal and likely indicated prior use. The National Transportation Safety Board reported that these drugs were not used immediately before the flight and determined that they did not cause the crash. The crash appeared to be caused by a combination of factors. Investigators found a broken spring on a cylinder valve. This had broken at some point before the crash and not due to the impact. Although Eric had flown the plane immediately before the fateful flight, this broken spring had gone unnoticed, but likely became a problem when the plane was overloaded with people. The reduced function resulted in diminished engine power. Additionally, the plane was carrying 60 kilograms above its weight limit. The center of gravity was too far back, resulting in an unstable aircraft that was difficult to maneuver during the flight. On Saturday, May 19th, A memorial was held for Mariah in Guerneville, Sonoma County. Shocked school friends and social media followers expressed their grief as news of Mariah's tragedy spread. Her middle name was Sunshine, and her charismatic smile, fitting that name, would be deeply missed by her family. She lit up every room and had a close bond with her 3 younger brothers and 1 younger sister. Her mother had just begun to enjoy an adult relationship with her daughter. On April 4, 2019, Mariah's parents, Stacy and Christopher Coogan, filed a wrongful death lawsuit. They claimed that both James Pedroza and Eric Valente had flown the plane in a careless and reckless manner, and that the owner of the plane, Blake Brooksby, was negligent. The lawsuit was filed against the estate of Eric Valente, the estate of James Pedroza, and N9456P, LLC. The case was put on hold until the investigation was completed. As of August 2024, the outcome of the lawsuit is still unknown. While the legal proceedings continue, it is crucial to keep the memory of Mariah Coogan and the other victims alive. Their lives were abruptly and tragically ended, and their stories serve as a warning about the risks and challenges of aviation. This tragic event reminds us of how precious life is and the importance of always prioritizing safety.